influence on her decision to pursue secondary education. Isabella says through Mr. Faucher's classes, she was given a creative outlet to express herself and develop a writing technique and style. She would like to pass along these skills to others. Congratulations to both Isabella and Joseph Faucher with a special acknowledgement. This is his third time he has been chosen by a student scholarship recipient as their teacher or mentor, 1995, 2018, and 2019.
Congratulations to our students and our teachers. That's awesome. Okay, special recognition, East China School District retirees, Mrs. Suzanne Cybula. And Todd Disselrath.
Good evening, President Frank, members of the Board of Education, and distinguished guests. Thank you to all of the families and colleagues of our 2018-19 retirees for attending tonight. We are here to recognize the significant contributions to the East China School District that each of our retirees has made over the years. Our retirees represent different employee groups working throughout the district who have made an impact on students, staff, and the community in unique and special ways. The 11 retirees who are being honored tonight represent an amazing 261 years of dedicated service to the East China School District. For those of you in attendance, as I call your name, for the retirees in attendance, as I call your name, please step forward to accept our thanks and a token of our appreciation for your service presented by our Board of Education trustee, Mr. Todd Disselrath. First is Denise Sharon, Bell River teacher, 18 years of service. Sybil Chop, St. Clair High School noon aide sub-custodian, 27 years of service. Ronald Glodich, Marine City High School teacher, 31 years of service. Patty Janis, Eddy Elementary caregiver, 16 years of service. Andy Maitland, St. Clair Middle School building head, 30 years of service. Les Mansell, St. Clair High School building head, 21 years of service. Lorna Muggleberg, Pine River Parapro noon aide, 23 years of service. Cheryl Myers, St. Clair High School Parapro, 23 years of service, and Lorna's sister. Becky Osterlin, St. Clair High School Social Studies teacher, 24 years of service. Mike Pauley, St. Clair High School custodian, 18 years of service. Tammy Rowling, Eddy Elementary, 4th grade teacher, 30 years of service. Oh, Tammy says it's 31 years, so congratulations. Our sincerest gratitude for all of you have done on behalf of our students and our community. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. A motion is needed for the approval of minutes, approval of payment of bills, financial statement. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. I skipped ahead. The next item is our special recognition this evening, our Winter Athletic Awards with Mr. Dave Maru and Mr. Sandy Rutledge.
Thank you so much. Again, sorry for the confusion for last month, but we look forward to the opportunity to properly recognize our athletes again this evening. Thank you all so much for coming. We'd like to start with our Marine City High School. Again, I'm Dave Maru, the Assistant Principal Athletic Director for Marine City High School. Thank you all for coming. We'd like to start with our varsity boys basketball, the conference champions, as well as our varsity boys swim conference champions, four sports county meet champions. And let's start with bowling. Randy Carnahan, all conference, all state, second team, MAC all academic. Madison Negro, all conference, MAC all academic for varsity girls bowling. Varsity boys basketball, we have Jack Crutchmar, all conference. John Nostrada, all conference. Angelo Patsalas, all conference, MAC MVP and MAC all academic. Coach Golders can't be with us this evening. He is coaching baseball, but he again was voted the MAC Bronze Coach of the Year. Moving on to varsity girls basketball, we have Morgan McConnell, all conference, MAC all academic. For powerlifting, we have Nick Barunda, all state, all academic. We also have Cassie Brown, all state, all academic. Varsity boys swim and dive, Gavin Collins, all conference. Ian Blackstock, all conference, all region, all state, setting records in 6 dives, 11 dives, and also the 200 freestyle relay. Bradley Monarch, all conference, MISCA qualifier, D3 state qualifier, MAC all academic, and school record in the 200 freestyle relay. Luke Pettinger, all conference, MISCA qualifier, all state, MAC all academic, school records in the butterfly, 100 freestyle, individual medley, and also the 200 freestyle relay. Zach Pettinger, all conference, D3 state qualifier, school record in the 200 freestyle and 200 freestyle relay. We'd also like to recognize Michelle Kennedy, our MAC Gold Coach of the Year. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Ron Miller to introduce St. Clair's.
Thanks, Mr. Maru. I'm filling in for Mr. Rutledge. He is actually St. Clair High School is hosting lacrosse next door, so he is over at East China Stadium. So we'll begin with our winter recognition. Varsity girls basketball, MAC Gold Division, and district champions. Varsity boys wrestling, MAC Gold champions. Also varsity boys wrestling, all-state, finishing 8th in Division II with team GPA of 3.55. My favorite recognition. Competitive cheer of Mac White Sportsmanship Award. And some individual recognition. Again, our athletes are all over the place, so we'll see who's here tonight. Ryan Zimmer, varsity boys basketball all-league. Juliana Cataldo, varsity girls basketball all-conference, all-academic MAC MVP. Maya Jansen, varsity girls basketball all-conference. Coach Mike Boulard, varsity girls MAC Silver Division Coach of the Year. Some individual award winners. Josh Witter, boys varsity hockey, MAC White First Team, MVP of the Big Red Player of the Year, and all academic. We have a cooperative program with Port Huron. That's the reason why he's the Big Red Player of the Year. Just letting you know. Macy Chamberlain, powerlifting state qualifier. Aiden Gadke, powerlifting, 2nd place in state, 7th place powerlifting nationals, 1st place Henry Ford regional qualifier, 2nd place Lake Orion regional qualifier. Delaney Lohr, also powerlifting, state qualifier, 3rd place Lake Orion regional qualifier. Hugo Rocca, powerlifting, 7th place Michigan State Championship, 3rd place Henry Ford regional qualifier, and 3rd place regional qualifier. Mason Spezia, powerlifting, state qualifier, 3rd place Henry Ford regional qualifier. Matthew Aragoni, varsity boys swim and dive, all-state honorable mention, MAC all-academic, St. Clair record holder in the 100 breaststroke, MAC white champion, 100 butterfly, all-conference. Well done. Nathan Baylock, boys swim and dive, all-league and all-academic. Ironically, Nathan's actually performing with the St. Clair Jazz Band in Detroit. They're the featured performers at a restaurant tonight.
Oh.
Jared Faulkner, varsity boys swim and dive, all-state honorable mention, all-conference, MAC, all-academic team. Spencer Hack, varsity boys swim and dive, all-state honorable mention, all-conference, and MAC, all-academic team. Max Likens, varsity boys swim and dive, all-state 100 backstroke, all-conference, all-academic, St. Clair High School record holder in the 100 backstroke. Caden Proctor, varsity boys swim and dive, all-state honorable mention, all-conference, and MAC all-academic team. Colton Proctor, varsity boys swimming and diving, all league and all academic. Mitchell Hack, varsity boys swim and dive, all league and all academic team. Bradley Vanderkerkhoff, varsity boys swim and dive, all league, all academic. Jessica Diller, varsity girls competitive cheer, MAC white all conference team. Avery Rausch, varsity girls competitive cheer, MAC white all conference, all district, and the MAC white MVP. Chloe Schweihofer, varsity girls competitive cheer, all district. Don Bacon, varsity boys wrestling, MAC division champ, MAC all academic team, and MAC gold all conference team. Hagen Domagowski, varsity boys wrestling, MAC gold all conference team. Cam Haslam, Varsity Boys Wrestling, a regional qualifier and MAC Gold All-Conference team. Joe Postma, Varsity Boys Wrestling, MAC Gold All-Conference team. Jason St. James, Varsity Boys Wrestling, MAC Gold All-Conference team. John Westfall, Varsity Boys Wrestling, MAC All-Academic team, second team All-County Regional Qualifier. His record 35-11, MAC Gold All-Conference team. Thank you very much.
And I know our retirees want to retire and leave. As I see, they sat down very quickly after the award. After this picture, if I could get those that are able to make it up here for a picture, that would be awesome. Please. Anything about your height?
I know.
Certificates are in the correct position. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And Beth, I'll get on the way. Up. Perfect. Thanks, you guys. Congratulations. I don't need any. 31 years, Andy. For Cheryl. Come on, we'll take as many as we can get. We'll send her you guys in front of those. That gives these guys time to get out of here. Right. 1, 2, 4. So did I.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, I get to read this lovely resolution. I want you to all pay extreme attention to every word. Okay, perfect. Yes. Resolution.
You betcha. Okay, moving right along. Okay, so that brings us to our next item this evening, which is now the consent agenda. So a motion is needed for the approval of minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting April 15th, the special Board of Education meeting April 29th, the special Board of Education meeting May 3rd, approval of payment of bills, financial statement, and the schedule of investments.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Okay, if everybody could signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. So now we are moving on to the next item this evening, which number 7 has now become number 6, information discussion items. And the first topic there is designating the election representative for the St. Clair County RESA Board, Mrs. Cybula.
Thank you, President Frank. What I am going to do is read the resolution that will designate the RISA local district's election representatives, and I apologize because I do need to read the resolution. So here it is. Whereas the biannual election of the Board of the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency will be held Monday, June 3rd, 2019, and the members of the St. Clair County Regional Education Service Agency Board will be elected by an electoral body composed of one person designated by the board of each of the constituent school districts. And in accordance with section 380.6142 of the revised school code, this board must now adopt a resolution which designates its representatives to the electoral body and directs said representative to vote on behalf of this school board for the specific candidate this board supports for each position to be filled on the St. Clair County Regional Education Service Agency Board, at least on the first ballot taken by the electoral body. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this board does hereby approve the designation of Pat Bebuck as a representative of this board for the electoral body, and Karen Cedar as an alternate in the event the designated representative is unable to attend, which body will elect two candidates to the vacancies on the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency Board on Monday, June 3rd, 2019. The designated representative is fully directed to cast a vote on the first ballot on behalf of the board for candidates Marshall Campbell from Port Huron and Michael McCartan from East China. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of the resolution be and the same I hereby rescinded. So that is the resolution that the board will be voting on during the action items for the RISA school board candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item then is board workshop discussion. Tina Thrift.
Good evening. I've been requested to briefly review our what happened during our budget workshop from last Friday. There was a workshop that was scheduled. It was a public meeting and it began at 4:15. The purpose of this meeting was to review our first draft of our budget for the fiscal year 1920 and several different scenarios of expenditures and with opportunities for reductions. So we began the evening with looking at our fund balance history. This chart goes back to 2003, 2004, where our expenditures were $46 million, and we ended the year with a fund balance of over $7 million. And at that point, we had a remaining fund balance percentage of total expenditures of over 15%. As you can see, as the years have progressed and the district has made cuts each year, we are now looking at 17-18, and this was the audited. We are down to a 9% fund balance. We made an amendment to our budget mid-year, and at that point, we were still looking at a use of fund balance, even though it was quite small, of about $55,000, and a remainder fund balance percentage of just under 9%. The final budget for fiscal year 18-19, minor changes were made to that with a slight increased use of fund balance of $72,000, and we're still looking at a percentage of fund balance of still under 9%. However, for the 1920 original budget, and this is the first draft of the budget, we are projecting a use of fund balance of over $800,000 and a remaining fund balance of just under 7%. I do want to remind the board that board policy is 7% on our fund balance. We then moved on and we looked at what that budget looked like. And this is my working paper. It looks really busy. There's a lot of information, but this was given to the board and we had went over it in greater detail on Friday night. The two pink columns, the first one is the final budget for the 18-19 with the projected use of about $72,000. Now the blue columns are is the budget for 1920, I apologize, the original budget. And that is based off of our current programming. So as we are conducting our school business today, with the addition of a projected decrease in students of 98 and an increase in fund balance of $100 per student. We also know of 3 retirements at this point, and we are anticipating replacing 2 of them, so that would be a reduction of 1 teaching staff. Some of the different cost scenarios that we looked at was the closure of the Eddy Elementary. I provided the board what the costs were projected in the budget. They were broken down by the different expenditure categories: salaries, benefits, contracted services, repairs, etc. The third column is reflecting the reduction if the building was closed. And the last column is the net of that reduction. Now, there were 2 scenarios presented to the board. The first one is if the building was closed, but we still maintain ownership of the building. The important factor here is that there would still be cost. We would not eliminate all of our cost. For instance, utilities would be a reduction of 30% rather than 100%. Of course, there were reductions in staffing, of which I had listed there. And these were only projections. And the second scenario was if the building was closed and we were able to sell the building, that would result with additional savings to the district if it was full year. The combined savings with selling the building was over $500,000. We then looked at the athletic program. I provided the board with some expenditures on the district-wide athletic program. I broke down again the types of expenditures that are reflected in the budget by school, so you can see their costs in each area. I reminded the board within the budget, the highest amount of costs are reflected in the salaries and the benefits, and it's about 87%. So the yellow lines are the areas that are consuming the largest portion of the expenses in the athletic program. And because salaries cost so much, I gave them a further breakdown of the cost of the salaries and which line item is absorbing that. We then moved on to the cost of transportation. What I provided to the board was potential savings if we were to utilize the Mets company greater than what we are today. And the savings that the district would incur would be the difference of what we pay in a benefit package to the employees in relation to what we would pay Mets at 26.5% on every dollar. Based on our current staffing and configuration, the district could save approximately $140,000. There was further discussion regarding the cost of the pool. The approximate cost of closing a pool was $75,000 to $90,000 annually. This was based off of some studies that were located on the internet by our operations director. The district does not have dedicated meters for electricity or natural gas. And this cost would also include chemicals and repairs. There were some questions regarding what does ninth grade sports cost the district? The cost for this is included in the athletic budgets, and for me to give a real cost, I would need further discussion with the directors. I haven't had much recovery time since Friday, so I just wanted to give that. And that was a review of our meeting on Friday.
Thank you, Tina. Board members, any questions or discussion?
Just, I guess, point out just the
just to build on that, the discussion that we had, basically we were presented with all of this information because the first slide showed the $800,000 that we're going to be in the hole based on losing another 98 pupil count, and that's been a continuous 20-year decrease. So we had discussions related to all those different ideas to try to make up that $800,000. We also talked about the fact, we talked about closing an elementary school, I think 3 years ago. At that time, we decided it was, we wanted to wait, put together a plan that was a longer range plan, and we did that. And that was the most recent bond, which unfortunately failed. So we're kind of back to that point where we need to address that facility use again. So that was a big part of our discussion, having more space than we have students, and trying to maintain all of those facilities with shrinking enrollment, shrinking funding.
Anybody else? Okay, I'd also just like to add that to date we've been very successful in keeping the cuts as far away from the classroom and the students as possible. We have cut in every possible place that we could. So we're all not very happy to be in this position, but unfortunately that's where we're finding ourselves. So with the information that was presented tonight, we will have to move forward, and again, we will try our best to keep the cuts as far away from the kids as we can, because the kids are our #1 priority. But we're kind of to the point right now where we're running out of options.
Could say this too, I'm not on Facebook, but apparently a lot of other people are, so I'd heard there were some dialogue regarding some of the decisions that maybe people thought were made. No decision has been made to cut middle school sports. No decision has been made to close a pool. Those were things that were part of the discussion, as you can see from the presentation. Those were all things that were brought up. This is how much all those things cost, so that we could talk about those things and make a decision. But we left that meeting without the intention of doing those things at this time.
Yeah. I'd like to add one other thing. With the declining enrollment, we also have classes at each high school where we don't have enough students to fill them, and so we're trying to think of ways in which we can make sure that all the kids get all the opportunities at both ends.
Anybody else? Okay, then we will move on to the board action item portion of tonight's meeting. Item A, recommended action per administration recommendation. The Board of Education approves the resolution as presented at the April 15, 2019 regular board meeting to elect to comply with Act 152 of 2011 by not paying more than 80% of the total annual cost of all the medical benefits that the district offers or contributes for its employees.
So moved. Support.
Sure. You're welcome. So I have a motion. Do I have a support?
Amy supported it.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. All in favor, Can you still not hear us? No. Well, maybe then it's my microphone.
Try again.
How's that? All right, thanks for letting us know. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a support. Any comments or questions on this item? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. The next item B, recommended action per administration recommendation. The Board of Education approves the RESA budget resolution indicating that you have reviewed and support the St. Clair County RESA budget for the 2019-20 school year. Motion is needed.
So moved.
Support. Any comments or questions?
I do. I was very pleased with Kevin Miller when he came and spoke and told how he had consolidated positions, and I was very impressed with what they are doing to be fiscally responsible. I was very pleased.
I agree. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries also. Last action item is recommended action per administration recommendation. The Board of Education approves a resolution designating East China School District's election representative on the St. Clair County Regional Education Service Agency Board that was discussed earlier this evening. So motion is needed.
So moved.
Support? Support. Amy supported. Okay, any questions on that discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so that motion is also carried. Now we're going to move on to our recognition of persons wishing to address the board. And I'll go through my green cards. First up is Terry Mullane.
President Frank, and members of the board. I'm Terry Mullane, East China Association President, teacher, Community Education Coalition member, homeowner in the district, and grandparent of a future East China students, several East China students. I am here tonight to speak for the need for continued efforts towards right-sizing the district. The CEC worked extensively to analyze the current situation, take suggestions from shareholders, make modifications, and ultimately come up with what we believe is the best plan to move the district forward, educationally and fiscally. We still believe this to be the absolute best plan for the district. For years, East China was highly sought after district for parents, students, and teachers. We are falling behind. If we don't stop the hemorrhaging soon, I fear that we will fall so far that we cannot recover. Our teachers are outstanding professionals that have dedicated themselves to giving their students the very best. Student successes over the year is a tribute to our students, our parents, and the teachers who find the way to help students soar despite limited resources, failing infrastructure, and out-of-date technology. They have been working for too long with one hand tied behind their backs. The plan of the CEC unties the teachers' hands and gives them the wings to help their students soar even higher. Consolidation paves the path to rich program offerings and up-to-date technology that will better prepare our students for competitive academic and career environments that await them. Maintaining the status quo puts our students at a huge disadvantage. Your task as stewards of the district is to make difficult decisions, to do what is right by the students. I implore you to stay true to the path to right-size the district. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Nancy Mott.
Good evening, President Frank, Superintendent Zybula, and members of the board. My name is Nancy Mott. I'm a proud ECEA member, a teacher at St. Clair Middle School, and I'm here to share with you some positive things that are happening in our classrooms. Even though we are falling on tough times, we have some awesome teachers doing awesome things. Here we go. First, second, and third grade students at good old Eddy Elementary just performed their spring music concert titled Save the Earth. Students displayed their musical talents by singing, dancing, and playing instruments, along with communicating an important message about cleaning up and preserving our wonderful planet. The show will be aired on our own Channel 6, Thursday and Friday, May 16th and 17th. Aww. That already happened. Maybe we can talk to somebody and get it replayed again, just so that Shelley Selecki's students can show off their talents. The St. Clair High School Jazz Band is playing at Cliff Bell's Jazz Club tonight in Detroit on Monday, May 20th. Students are joined by the professional jazz musicians that are artists in residence at St. Clair High School this school year. Scott Fryer and Michael Volz have been awarded grants to attend the Summer Music Educators Workshop at Carnegie Hall in New York City this summer. Both band directors will spend 5 days in the historic venue working with world-renowned musical faculty. Sixth graders at Marine City Middle School from Mrs. Smith's science classes enjoyed a visit from animals from Science Alive thanks to an East China Supporters Grant. Students got up close and personal with a two-fingered sloth, an American alligator, a three-banded armadillo, an amazingly soft chinchilla, and enjoyed a group hug from a Burmese python. The second graders at Palms Elementary finished their informational reports on animals and then presented information about their animals in a live zoo format. The second grade zoo was set up in the gym, and each child had an exhibit. The children prepared costumes and designed their own habitats. The students and parents of Palms visited the zoo and learned a lot about different animals. Pine River second graders spent the last 21 days turning chicken eggs and monitoring the incubators. They had 29 chicks hatch and have been watching them grow in the classroom. They would like to give a shout out to the technology department for setting up the critter cam and allowing students and families to view the eggs hatching and chickens at home during this exciting time. Thanks to Mrs. Williams and Mrs. Kenyon for providing this experience for the students. Miss Kathy Vandermeulen's class at Pine River had the opportunity to hatch ducks. They had 7 duck eggs hatch, and they are enjoying learning about all of them. They prepared the duck life cycle, 28 days of incubation, to the chicken life cycle, 21 days of incubation. They also looked at how different physical features, bills, and webbed feet are related to different habitats and different ways of life for the ducks as compared to the chickens. They also had time to compare facts and opinions about the ducks, and their opinions are ducklings are much cuter than chicks. Under the leadership of Julie Beach and Tanya Huston, Pine River Student Council hosted a talent show for the Pine River community. There were a variety of performances, including gymnastics, singing, dancing, cubing, and much, much more. The students at Pine River were entertained and are looking forward to the next one. The 5th graders at Eddy went on an awesome field trip last week to the Detroit Institute of Arts and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History with Mrs. Bardecki, Mrs. Day, and Ms. Nowakowski. They received a Target grant from the DIA, which covered the bus cost and the tickets to the DIA. This allowed them to take the field trip to both museums for a very low cost. This field trip aligned with both the art and Spanish curriculums taught by Ms. Nowakowski and the 5th grade social studies curriculum taught by Mrs. Bardecki and Mrs. Day. For many of the 5th graders, it was their very first time to ever visit a museum. Marine City High School film class students had a successful showing for their first hour film festival at the Mariner Theater. They had a pretty full house to showcase the student-made films. Students created films for 4 genres, and the audience voted for the best films. This information is under the direction of Mrs. Williams, the Marine City High School art teacher. Marine City Middle School 7th and 8th grade art students will be going to the DIA on May 29th for their annual trip. Over 90 people will be attending this trip. Mrs. Weatherly's 3rd and 4th grade class split class, opened their Living Wax Museum on Thursday, May 16th. Students researched famous people, wrote their biographies, created time capsules of significant items to be discovered 100 years in the future, and then dressed up like a wax statue of each famous person. Giving a speech to audience members, the students were giving speeches to audience members when their button was pushed. There was a great turnout of interested adults at Bell River, making this event a huge success. Last Thursday, the St. Clair High School Lynx students and their peers celebrated the last full week with seniors by walking to McDonald's for ice cream. Tonight, the Lynx, their peers, parents, and staff will celebrate a successful first year of the program at a celebratory banquet in the St. Clair High School cafeteria. Over 100 students and parents will be in attendance at this event. Second graders from Bell River Elementary recently visited Legoland. They had a great time using problem-solving skills, science, technology, and math to construct amazing structures. When we returned, the kids worked as a team to discuss and write an honest review of their experience. Amanda Voltz's financial management class at St. Clair High School was recently named one of the best 100 high schools teaching personal finance. They are ranked number 27 nationally and number 8 out of mid-sized schools. All members of the Marine City Middle School Social Studies Olympiad medaled at the 33rd Annual Social Studies Olympiad on May 4th. Coached by Shirley Frederick, team members earned gold, silver, and bronze medals for their individual entries. Roger Beaton's Business Essentials class conducted their annual mock interview day with several area business people participating. The class completed a unit on interviewing skills, and then each student is put through a mock interview by someone in the business world. Upon completion of the interview, the business people provide feedback to each individual on the positives and negatives of their interview. This is a great way that Roger Beaton has brought the real world into the classroom. Debbie Karas's government class is bringing Washington, D.C. to life by creating scale models of some of the iconic buildings. You can see these creations on May 22nd at Riverview East High School from 1 to 2:30 as part of an exhibition of student work. The students did a great job creating some complicated structures and learning the functions of our government and how it came to be through the writings of the Constitution. It is an interesting time to be teaching this class, says Debbie Carius. 6th grade classes at St. Clair Middle School will be traveling to Port Huron on Friday, May 24th. In conjunction with the environmental science studies, they will be taking a guided nature walk and a boat ride on the Huron Lady, contributed by Sheila Miller and Jesse Gilbert. Bell Rivers Student Council had a penny war and collected coins to help a fellow student with some medical costs. All the classes participated to make a change. Thanks to Mrs. Malberg, Mr. Foster, and Mrs. Carnahan for overseeing the Student Council. At St. Clair Middle School, especially the ELA 7th and 8th grade teachers and the 6th grade reading teachers are once again sponsoring a competition for current 5th, 6th, and 7th graders to encourage reading all summer long. Students will read and record their reading minutes through the Scholastic app. For every 100 minutes read and logged onto the Scholastic website, students will receive a coupon for a chance to win books and gift cards in the fall. And finally, ECEA would like to congratulate all of the retirees of the East China School District, but especially our members, Ron Glodich, Becky Osterlin, Tammy Rowling, and recently Denise Sharon. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Nancy. Okay, so my next card is for Skylar Sayers. Did I pronounce that right? Yes. Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Skylar Sayers. I am a mom and a homeowner. My oldest daughter is going to be starting kindergarten this year. She is planned to go to Eddy Elementary. I'd like to say that we moved to Michigan 3 years ago, and we chose to live here because of the school district and because my husband's family's here and they know how great the school district is. And we understand that there is enrollment issues and that the enrollment is going down. Well, my family just wonders that if closing Eddy is really the best way to save money. You're closing the only school that's in the city limits of St. Clair, in the center of, well, maybe not the only one, but it's the one that's in the center of town. Is it really the best way to save money? And does the sale of the school have anything to do with this action occurring now instead of maybe after another bond is proposed?
So it's board policy that we don't get into discussion at the meeting, but the superintendent will note your questions and she will get back with you. And thank you for bringing them forward this evening.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's see. Sue Likens, did I pronounce that right? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sue Likens. I'm a mother of two alumni from St. Clair High School. I have a son who's a sophomore. I'm also the women's and men's varsity swim coach, and I'm here to plead our case. We just received a new timing system at our pool, and which was funded by our community. Our blocks are brand new. Those were funded by Blue Water Swim Club. I'd like to also mention that I am a coach with Blue Water Swim Club. I'm originally from Port Huron, and when my children started swimming 12 years ago, we came to St. Clair to swim with Blue Water Swim Club. My daughters said to me, we don't want to go to a high school that does not have a pool. So we made the conscious decision to uproot ourselves and move to St. Clair for the swim program. It is well-renowned, and it has a great reputation. I would hate to see our swim programs completely collapse. We also need to consider the fact that if we close the pools, it's not just the students, it's the physical education programs, it's the community, it's Blue Water Swim Club, which reaches the entire county. Marysville is the only school in our whole county with a pool. Do we really want them to be the only school district with a pool? I don't think so. I'd like to point out the fact that in the last 3 years, I'm not sure if any of you know my daughters, Heidi and Molly Likens. Molly Likens is a 3-time All-American academic athlete. I'm not sure that East China's ever had another All-American. Her senior year, she reached All-American just based on her time. Molly has swam in the Deaf Olympics, U.S. Deaf, or the World Deaf Swim Championships in San Antonio, and she's going back to Brazil again to swim. They are 2 collegiate athletes. Why are they collegiate athletes? Because they swam at St. Clair High School. They swam for a very good program. Some of the other well-known students that swam, Grace Shinsky, Evan Warner, Tristan Fraley, Adam George, I could go on and on. Some of our state champions just in the last 3 years, Heidi Likens, Molly Likens, Grace Shinsky, Alexis Smith. We need to take those kinds of things into consideration before we close programs and we close pools. And it's not about anything else other than we need to keep these programs going for our students, for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a John Sayers.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I have a question also dealing with the potential closure of Eddy Elementary. If the school were indeed to close, has there been any discussion as to a possible outcome for the school, the facilities, or the park to possibly be a community center or a community park, or some combination where there's a sale of the building, but the park and the soccer field remain open to the public? And also, lastly, how could somebody volunteer for the school steering committee?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Cybula will be in touch with you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, I have one more green card, Danielle Furton.
Hello, I'm Denny Furton. I am a parapro in one of the 2 early childhood special education classrooms housed at Gearing Elementary. And I wanted to take a moment to bring to the attention of the school board some of the kids that might not be at the forefront. It reminds when we think of average students in the school district. The vast majority of children that our school district serves have the most amazing minds and the ability to naturally learn through interactions with their peers, how to make friends, how to have socially appropriate behavior. These are not things that are necessarily ingrained in our students. My classroom in particular works with students 2.5 to 4 years old. They come up about this high, and they need so much care and support that we are so happy to provide them. We provide them with social stories and videos. We give them hands-on specific instruction in order to teach them how to do things like how to play tag, how to invite a student to play with you in an appropriate way, how to use toys in a functional way. And where we can provide all of these things for them, the one thing that we are not capable of providing as the staff on the ground is space. Our students throughout the winter are not able to go outside to play on their playground if the weather falls below 32 degrees. I don't have a specific number for you, but that was a lot of days this past winter. We have access to Gearing Elementary's gymnasium 2 days out of the week. That means the other 3 days, our students do not have the space available to them to run, to climb, to kick a ball, to practice that peer interaction that doesn't involve items. In the classroom, we can practice teaching them how to interact with students by playing alongside with the same toys and things like that, but we can't teach them how to play tag or play hide and seek and those sorts of things that are integral to them later on, learning how to problem solve and how to work through problems with their peers. If you want your kindergartners and your first graders all the way up to know those skills, it starts with our little ones having time to play in an open environment like that. So I'm asking that as the discussion moves forward with consolidations, with the possibility of Eddy closing, with classrooms getting shifted around, please keep in mind that as sections might be being added to our building, that we have little ones who, even if you can just give them each of our classes just 20 minutes in the gym, 20 minutes in a indoor therapy room. There's been years when we have had to have our students who require physical therapy or occupational therapy as part of their education. It's part of their learning how to be a student and how to be a healthy child. They've had to have their therapies in the hallway. I wouldn't want to have physical therapy in the hallway when there's a gym available, when there's a room available. We have the most amazing staff, but we can't provide a space for a therapy room, and we can't provide time in the gym without the people who are over us, without the help of the school board and the administration. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being willing to be on the board during a time when there's been more pleasant years to be on the board, I'm sure. So we thank you for your time, and thank you for your dedication to all the students in the district, from the oldest all the way down to our little guys in the early childhood special education program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I guess I do have one more green card. Caroline Martin.
Thank you for squeezing me in at the last moment. I wasn't really sure. We had a crowded, I was out in the hall until we were able to enter in, and I didn't know to fill out the form. So, my name is Caroline Martin. I'm a mom of 5 young children, actually. So my oldest just entered 6th grade this year. I would say 5th grade, going into a middle school situation, seeing what my son has been in 6th grade's been an awesome year for him. For many, many, many reasons. But I also feel like when you take a 5th grader going into 6th grade, there's a transition period that we put these children through to prepare them for middle school. And then you're going to take a 4th grader and then send them into that situation. That's a shock factor to them. I have a 4th grader right now, so this would directly affect my child. If Eddy were to close, that's our school. I was a proud yes supporter, so I get that we need change. I want change that's going to benefit our kids, not hurt them. I don't know how we do that without that bond. You guys have a lot on your plates. I will say that it would come as a huge factor and shock to these children to not have that orientation, not to have that field trip or that day where they get to go and shadow, and they're just kind of thrown in to that, weeks prior to the school starting. That's a really hard adjustment for those kids at that age, especially. They would lose playground equipment. That's important. I know my daughter, she would spend hours doing those types of things. Also, the other thing, I would say sports are huge. Not all kids are academic kids. Not all kids love school. Some kids love drama. Some kids love theater. Some kids love sports. If we take, I know personally my son, he does not like school, and he was on the honor roll all year in 6th grade, but that was a task, and that was something he had to do in order to be able to play his sports. So if we take sports away from these kids, what is it going to show for those kids who are looking to play at a higher level sport? You're going to take those away, it's going to affect high school sports, and then it's going to affect, a lot of kids get scholarships through sports for colleges, and unfortunately, we're setting our children up for sports to start younger and younger, and I'm not saying, everything is well-rounded with these kids. It's not all just about one thing to the other, because all children learn differently and all children have different interests. The other thing with the pools, my main concern is how much money we just sunk into these pools within the last year to make them functioning. And now we're going to close our pools. That was a complete waste of our money. And we're talking about making better choices. But if we just sunk, I don't know the budget, I don't know how much it was, but I know that we had to do a lot of work to both of the pools. And I'm sure that was upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what are we doing with that then? We're just going to shut them down and say, hey, we just sunk all this money in, but now we don't have to upkeep them at least. That's a waste of our money, hugely. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything else. I was really nervous to do this. So thank you for your time. If my main concern, if you guys could let us know how much was spent on those pools and why we would choose to close them now after we put the money into it versus, hey, we needed a new liner or we needed a new pump. I can't remember exactly what the problem was. Why didn't we close it at that point before we sunk all that money into it? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming forward this evening. We appreciate, first of all, your passion and your comments, and we also appreciate that you understand that we have a very difficult task ahead of us. So thank you very much for being here this evening. So the next item on our agenda is items for our next regular board meeting. We will be reviewing the East China School District 2018-19 budget final revision, the 2019-20 budget approval, the original budget, and our student handbooks. So at this time, our meeting is adjourned.